Hey guys, what's up? It's July 25th, 5 after 11. Raw just went off the air. Um, Video's not really about Raw, not doing a SummerSlam preview just yet. It's really about the news that we found out about earlier today, and that is Triple H becoming head of creative. And, you know, that is probably the best option to come out. That's not taken away from Bruce Pritchard. That's not taken away from Michael Hayes and whoever else is involved in creative. But as I said in that last video about Vince McMahon retiring, you didn't know who was going to be in there. I believe at that moment it was Bruce Pritchard was head of talent relations and creative at the same time. You had Michael Hayes back there. I said they could tap Triple H. I said they could pull Paul Heyman in, but they decided to go with Triple H. And if you need anything to show you how positive this is, look no further than NXT. I mean, think about the reaction of NXT, the passion he put into NXT. I mean, the matches. I mean, I was not a regular NXT watcher. I really only watched NXT when they were having their takeover pay-per-views. I mean, you had Ciampa, Gargano, even though he may not have been, a top guy, Taylor Breeze, Sami Zayn, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, just, the matches they had, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, it doesn't matter, man or woman, there was some great shit in NXT. And the storylines were great. And part of it, besides the storylines, part of it was Triple H gave them that freedom. Similar to what they have in AEW. They got to run with the ball. I'm sure Triple H, had to clamp or put the kibosh on some things. But for the most part, these guys were able to do what they wanted to do. Now, I know there was some internal fighting about that, with the guys on the main roster that, these guys are just high spots, kick, flip, there's no selling. And, that's a fair criticism because there was a lot of that. But that's what the crowd wanted. And now look at NXT now, or NXT 2.0 now, when, Triple H was out of the picture and now Vince came in and got his hands all over it. Because remember, Vince pretty much ignored NXT. And you know that because look at every time there was a call up. What happened to that person that got called up? Really nothing. And I'm trying to think who was the most, on the male side, who was the most successful call up out of NXT? And I could be missing the person, so definitely if you're listening to this, put it in the comments and tell me. But even though it took him some time, I would have to say Kevin Owens is probably the most successful. Behind him, maybe Finn Balor. I could be wrong. But the thing is that you have to struggle to find out. On the women's side, obviously, Charlotte. But, it took some time for, Sasha to get her footing, and especially Becky. I mean, Becky really didn't become this popular. Was it 2017 when they were doing the Survivor Series and they did that brawl on Raw? She broke her nose, and that really started her trajectory and her stardom going up. But that was all Triple H and his crew. And if you notice, if you read, when Triple H went down, they pretty much got rid of, the Triple H guys, his people. They pretty much got rid of them. And it was all, the McMahon regime. So I don't know if Triple H is going to call those people back or whatever. I don't know. Now, I hope, and I would think there might be some clashing on the writers' team because I can see on one hand those who worked under Vince. You don't want to act like he doesn't exist anymore. You know, it's like you don't want to say, well, that's not what Vince would do. We have to keep doing it Vince's way. No, you don't. But I understand that mentality because, in a way, you feel like he's still watching, and he might get a text and say, "Hey, you know what? Why'd you do?" Because I'm sorry, it's hard for me to believe that Vince is fully detached. I mean, he may not be there, but I'm sure he watched. Let's say he watched Raw, and it was something he didn't like. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody got a text message. That's the kind of thing that I mean. So I wouldn't be surprised there might be a little bit of issue because I read that Triple H held a meeting and he was trying to say how he wanted to be transparency and how you felt like your voice wasn't heard. And to a degree, for some guys and girls, yeah, you're not heard because if Vince doesn't see you as that star, you're not heard. You're ignored. I mean, best example of that is Zack Ryder. You know, he was popular. And then, WWE briefly gave him that moment at WrestleMania, winning the ladder match for the Continental title. And then what? The next day or the following week, they took it off him. And then he went back into obscurity again. But now with Triple H at the helm now, do we see do we see the real Kevin Owens? Like I said, Vince likes to do this thing, and every character has gone through it, where they try to make them, the tough guy, then the comedy guy, and all this, the whiner, and all that kind of stuff. They try to take them to all these different phases of, emotions and all that, and I get that. But I want to see Kevin Owens go on a real fucking run. I want to see Finn Balor go back on his run because he never touched the top after he won in 2016 at SummerSlam. And he got hurt during the match. I think he tore his bicep. And nothing has happened of significance with him since then. If Cesaro was still there, I wonder what would be going through his mind right now and how he would be used. I want to see Sami Zayn have that real significant, storyline or a run at the title or something like that. A lot of the NXT guys are gone. They're in AEW. And again, go through the list of the call-ups. Tyler Breeze, Neville, Buddy Murphy. These guys had some great matches on Raw or SmackDown. And then it's just, yeah, okay, good. Go back in catering. But, like I said the other night, with this new regime, I'm telling you, it is just the possibilities are endless on what you can get. And every fan, I mean, again, the younger generation, the younger fans really don't get it. But for the people who are 18 and up, be excited. Relish this. And for me, it's still a little, it's still a little weird that Vince is not there. That Vince is not going to be there for WrestleMania season. I mean, I'm sure that's really going to hit people when it comes to the first WrestleMania without him. I'm sure it's really going to be like, holy shit, this is weird. But the atmosphere might be more relaxed. Who knows? It is weird with Vince because, again, obviously we knew one day he wouldn't be there anymore, but it was just the abruptness that he had to and the reason why he had to go. It's what just makes it, watching this Raw is like, Vince is not back there, But you get it. You saw how it followed that formula, the tag team match being made in the middle of the show and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, that's always been there. But is that something that might get tweaked? Will we see the quality of the matches change on Raw or SmackDown? Yes, you're going to get those 2-minute matches. You're going to get those stupid segments. You're always going to get that. And I understand that because you have to break. I get that. But if you look how they went at it on NXT, look to see if you're going to see those things on Raw and SmackDown under Triple H. Guys whose push just went down the toilet. Now, an example, when Paul Heyman was running things, who was one of the people he was pushing? Aleister Black. When Vince got rid of Heyman, Black went bye-bye too. Who was the other person? Shayna Baszler. She became a comedy act. Will we see that resurgence with Shayna? Because Shayna Baszler should be pushed as a killer. Right? Either at the same level or just behind Ronda Rousey. See, you didn't really have that type with Brock Lesnar. Well, you kind of do. You have Bobby. And when him and Bobby had their match, I'm like, listen, Bobby needs to be on same par as fucking Brock Lesnar. And if Shayna gets a resurgence because of Triple H, she needs to be on the same par as fucking Ronda Rousey. That when those two are in the ring, you don't know. It might be Ronda this time. It might be Shayna this time. But the fact that Triple H is head of it. And again, is there going to be clashes? Are we going to find out sometime in the future that Bruce Pritchard is leaving because he didn't like the way things were going? Now listen, Bruce Pritchard has been there for a long time. Yes, he was a Vince guy, but he's known Triple H for a long time. He's known Stephanie for a long time. I would think that they would collaborate very well. And I would even think Pritchard would have probably more freedom under Triple H to do what he wants to do. You know, I think the meetings would be less chaotic. I think the rewrites probably wouldn't happen that much because if you look at how Triple H ran the stories on NXT, there's no reason why he can't bring that up to Raw and Smackdown. I would also say look for some more emphasis on the tag team division because you know that wasn't really Vince's, thing, tag teams. So I would expect to see that change in the coming future, in the near future. Like I said, I wasn't expecting an immediate change just yet. Now, maybe, like I said in the last video, they might tweak the ending for some matches. So maybe under Vince, let's just say Theory was going to go over. Maybe Lashley's going to go over instead. Maybe maybe under Vince, he had the Usos going over. Maybe Triple H is going to say, you know what? Let's have the Street Profits go over. So that might change. But like I said, you have more than enough time to change the trajectory of things going into Survivor Series, going into Royal Rumble, and definitely into WrestleMania. So I would even think that the plans for WrestleMania might even change. I mean, the one guaranteed match that I know you're going to have for WrestleMania, excuse me, provided that he is healthy, is Seth versus Cody. That I know is set in stone. But everything else, who knows? But this is a real positive, uplifting news, for those who might have felt a little pessimistic that, okay, yes, we're glad that Vince is gone, but, Vince's, I'm using air quotes, henchmen are still there, and they're just going to, write the same as if he was still there. But new taste. And not to mention, Triple H is older and, he was a former talent. So, he can, see things through their eyes. I think that's another bonus of everything as well. Again, you can always consult with Paul Heyman. He's going to build a good team. He's going to, you have Shawn Michaels. I'm sure Shawn Michaels will definitely come and, give his point of view on certain things to help out Triple H on the main roster. It's great. And I really couldn't wait to pop on and put something out there because it's amazing. And if you see something or you think that no, it's not going to be what you think, leave comments. Tell me your point of view. I want to know. I want to interact with you guys. I want to interact with the other fans. Now, there was some blurb about Stephanie and Shane and where does Shane fit into all this. Are we ever going to see Shane? I don't know. And apparently the last time Shane was around, it didn't go too well. Because if you had Shane, Triple H, and Bruce Pritchard and Michael Hayes, that might have been too many cooks in the kitchen. But for Shane to maybe throw in his 2 cents here and there, because Shane was well liked. you know. But on the other hand, it's a different locker room than when he was there before. You know, Triple H has been there for the whole thing. You know, that's another dynamic that's a little bit different. You know, Shane is in and out, in and out, in and out, so his dynamic with them gets a little, you know, fucked up. But Triple H has been there straight through. He's seen just like I had said before. We watched the changing of the eras. You know, so from his point, you know, from Stone Cold and The Rock, you went to John Cena and Batista and Randy Orton, and from that you transition now into guys of Seth, now to guys of Drew, now to guys of Roman. You know, he's been there. So, and I'm sure a lot of the talent is comfortable with him. That's another why it was very well. He's comfortable with them. And even though Pritchard has been back for a while, again, Triple H has been there longer, and there's a level of comfortability with him. So that was another reason why it was a good choice. Now, you know, the jokes can come, well, you know, Stephanie's the chairwoman and she's co-CEO, so, you know, they only did it because it's her husband and all that kind of stuff. You know what? If you want to play that, you know, card, let me tell you something, that card has been played out for so fucking long. If you want to play that, fine. But you know what? Look at what it has the potential to give us as fans. And especially if they go back to TV 14. If they're allowed to be a little edgier. Again, not to the level of the Attitude Era, but, you know, listen, if you're going to drop a shit or a fuck, well, you can't say fuck, but if you're going to drop a shit, you know what? It's not a big deal. You know, the kids are not going to, you know, drop, you know, the ears are not going to bleed because they heard somebody say shit. And that kind of goes back to AEW as well. Yes, I know they don't go head to head. But this could force AEW to make some tweaks. Because I have said before, AEW, to me, has gotten stale. I feel like it's just the same thing. And I know you can say, well, you know, what do you expect? Yes, Raw is the same thing as well, but oddly, I don't know. It's weird. It's like I guess because we're used to it with WWE, that it's more accepting. But when AEW, you know, prides itself or built itself or being the alternative, it's like, but I'm really not seeing the difference between the two of you. Again, how many, you know, blood and guts matches can we have? You know, it always seems like every week somebody is just drenched in blood. It always seems like somebody's getting the thumbtacks. Seems like somebody's, you know, going through a flaming table or something like that, going through a barbed wire. It just seems like some of the concepts are unnecessary and you're doing them just for the sake of doing them. I think that's the issue of why I feel like it's just gotten really stale. And I think if they are paying attention, they're going to at least keep an eye out to see what they do differently and see how it affects them. But, and you know, I just wish guys like Bray Wyatt was still there. I mean, he could always come back, you know, under Triple H's regime. You know, there's a lot of positivity. Now, the other thing that I might think is a little weird is that now when they do call up some people from NXT, is that dynamic disrupted with Triple H? Do they now feel more comfortable with Bruce Pritchard because, you know, the new NXT was under them? You know? And I could be digging deeper into that than I really need to be. But, you know, again, I think about the quality of NXT and what Triple H did with that brand. And then how Vince and his crew came and just, you know, tortured. Like, I just didn't care the same about it, you know? So when they have their, you know, when they have their specials, I don't tune in to look because I feel like they just made it another Raw and Smackdown. There was a uniqueness to NXT under Triple H. I remember them saying, Vince always felt it was too dark. They wanted to brighten up and all that kind of stuff. And yes, I know you should be open to change and all that, but to me, their version doesn't work, and I feel the quality is not the same. But this was Triple H's first Raw. He'll get his first SmackDown, and then he's going to run SummerSlam. And again, I would say, give them time. Give them time to make these changes. They'll probably be subtle in the beginning, but let's see what happens. And I think, if not right after SummerSlam, let's see, we're in July, August. I would think in September, October, we might be able to notice the changes. Maybe. Remember, this is all a maybe. None of us are back there, so we don't know. But, some big creative decision is, if Vince was going to have Brock Lesnar break Roman's streak, does that stand? Maybe we'll find out what Vince originally had planned for SummerSlam and what's changing, because I'm sure, the wrestling, media is inquiring about that. What did Vince originally have planned? Or are you going to stick to those finishes, or are you going to change them? You know me. I think it's a mistake for Brock to win, but Brock might win. Maybe Triple H sees it better to have Brock win, because I think if you're gonna have Theory cash in, whether it's Brock or Roman, it's gonna be a big deal. But at least for now, they do seem to be really sticking with Theory. He's getting his ass kicked a lot. So it kind of makes you think, okay, he's going to get that moment where, yeah, everybody hates me. Well, now I'll give you a good reason because now I'm the champion. You know what I mean? It kind of makes you wonder, are they going to actually have him, cash in? And if I recall, Theory is a Triple H guy. Theory was there when the pandemic hit, but he got called up and he got put with Murphy and he got put with Seth Rollins, but he got let go or suspended or whatever when the allegations about him with the 13-year-old sending all these text messages. And by the way, when he won Money in the Bank, so the wrestling community has not forgotten about that, because when he won Money in the Bank, I saw that. Oh, look, Vince is praising, somebody who texted and sent dirty pictures to a 13-year-old. So I can only imagine that if he cashes in and wins, excuse me, what the wrestling community is going to say about that. But good news today. Good news for wrestling fans today, that you got Triple H at the helm. So let's see how this shapes up. I will be back probably Thursday. I'm going to do my my SummerSlam predictions of who's going to win. Or maybe I'll do it Friday after SmackDown. I'm not sure. I'll probably do it before, because I think there's enough there that we can kind of see the trajectory of where things are going. I mean, I already gave it in my early predictions that I think Liv Morgan needs to turn heel in order to beat Ronda Rousey. There's got to be some dirty tactic in there. I mean, the Pat McAfee Corbin thing, I mean, it's going to be an entertaining match because of Pat McAfee. But if you think about it, if Pat McAfee beats Corbin, it doesn't mean anything for either one. And if Corbin beats McAfee, doesn't really mean anything. That's just your entertainment match. It doesn't mean anything. And to a degree, I would say the same thing for Logan and The Miz. But I would think that that's going to carry on. I would think that's going to carry on for a while. So I would figure a schmaz finish to stretch this thing to maybe Royal Rumble or WrestleMania or something like that. But that's another match that if The Miz beats him, doesn't really mean anything. And for Logan, if he beats him, doesn't really mean anything because yes, apparently Logan signed a long-term deal or whatever, but you know, he's not going to, he's not going to be on the road all the time. Put it that way. I mean, some of these matches are just purely for the, entertainment, you know, extra sizzle, I guess, to put it that way. But but that's all I got for tonight. It's 11:30. I'm gonna go to bed. I'm tired as hell. But again, as I always say, leave your thoughts, leave your comments. Start subscribing, please. As I said, I really wanna build this up. I figured out how to finally get the stupid thumbnail to play through the whole video, so you're not just looking at a blank screen. So hopefully uh, you'll enjoy the videos a little bit more. All right, guys, have a good night.